Get this bus on the road. And here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Hello, everyone who's watching this live stream. This is me, Mr. P. Thank you very much for joining us this Sunday. Somebody's watching this early morning, somebody's watching afternoon or late night. Today, we're going to chat about Samsung DeX, Lapdocks, and mobile computing in general. I've been joined by Halo Knu, one of the moderators of our Samsung DeX subreddit group, and Juan, the one and only Somegadgetguy that we just got to chat about. Three of us regarding the Samsung DeX, Lapdocks, mobile computing, etc. And if you have any questions, obviously pop into the chat, and we are more than happy to answer. So we're just gonna quickly start. We had a quick chat just before live because I just was eager to find out how everything is going with the Nextdoor 360. As you know, Juan already have one. If you've not watched it, I'll leave a link to his review video in the description below after the live chat for you to check it out. So we're just going to begin. Thank you very much, Juan, for joining us.
Yeah,
I really do appreciate it. I know it's early, 7 a.m.
I'm only into the first quarter of a comically oversized cup of coffee. So
the 7 a.m. Like I said to Brad, I said, look, I need my morning beauty sleep. So I'm really
I was like, oh man, you're gonna put me on camera. That's so cruel of you.
Well, that's a live chat for you. You just live stream. So chat, if you have any questions to any of us, carry on, and we're gonna start chatting. We had a quick chat before live stream about Nextdoor 360 that obviously both of us have, and we're all liking it. And I'm probably gonna follow up with another question for you, Juan, just in case. Like, you used a lot of different lapdogs from the different companies, and I will let you know my opinion, and then you can agree or disagree.
Sure.
I feel that the Nextdoor 360 or Nextdoor company, because they only creating the lapdogs, even if their newest device looks very similar to UPerfect X, I think they are the people that will nail the right gadget. They will create the right lapdog. Others creating portable monitors, screens, etc. And in their online store, there is a one button that says Lapdocs, and you click on that, and they have like a separate branch. So do you feel that even, let's say, Nextdoor 360 is amazing, and do you think that like Nextdoor company, the one that will eventually will take over because they are the right people? If anybody looking to buy a lapdog, Nextdoor is the way to go.
It's tough to speculate because I've been into this idea since the earliest days of like Asus transformers and Moto Atrixes, and I think we've seen like if a major laptop manufacturer turns their attention to this kind of concept, we get phenomenally good hardware. And so at present, I mean, in today, like if I'm telling someone to push buy on something today, it's going to be a Nextdoor. That's just where I feel strongest. I feel it's the best combination of features. That probably, I mean, there are some compromises for having some of the additional features of the Nextdoor over the UPerfect. I'm sure we'll get into some of those little nuanced separation, what separates those two products. But I feel like at any moment, Samsung could show us something from their laptop division that blows us out of the water. HP had phenomenally good hardware for a Windows phone that could still, I still want one of those real bad. That's one of the few that I don't have in house. I had to give it back when I was done with it. So it's one of those things. It's like I really wish this idea were gaining more traction, and that of all people, that the techies. I mean, right now I'm preaching to the choir because you're coming from the community that actually does support this idea. But I mean, outside of this subreddit, it is still dental tooth extractingly painful to have this conversation because of people's sort of preconceived ideas about what a phone can be and
Yes.
what a
Yes.
laptop could be and what value you get for your money, where I think a lot of people miss the point on that stuff. So if any major manufacturer were to step in, I think it would give this idea a lot more traction, and then we'd see some more aggressive competition on some of these hardware fronts. But as it stands right now today, I say get in line for a next dock.
Yeah, the next dock is, it just feels that sometimes when since I started to look into Samsung DeX, it feels that any laptop manufacturer has a option, has the capacity to create something like this. It just feels that the Samsung themselves, it still feels that this is more like a lab test.
It's a project off the side of their desk somewhere.
Like I think I mentioned in a previous live chats, it feels like a couple of interns said, look, we want the job at Samsung, we're going to create something. And they created something, and Samsung pushing it and just throwing to a wall and see if it's going to stick.
Well, and it's one that I unfortunately, as much as I genuinely value this idea, I just recently did a road trip a couple months back, and on the road it was an LG V60 and the UPerfect X, and that was the right combo of tools for me to get the the majority of my work done. And that includes shooting 4K videos, doing product reviews on the road, hosting live streams, writing scripts, benchmarking products, and keeping up all my spreadsheets. Like, not only did it not slow me down, it also meant I wasn't bouncing back and forth between like a nicer camera and a $2,000 gaming laptop. I mean, I had a cell phone that at the time you could buy for $400. So, I mean, like, it's really hard to convince me that this idea isn't phenomenally well polished already and could get better if we had more adoption of it. But it's the worry I have that as much as I'm relying on this gear, when we see products like the Z Flip that don't include DeX, that are average consumer featured phones, but they're novel for folding, Samsung's going to make a lot of money on the Z Flip. And that's going to reinforce an idea at Samsung that, oh, well, people don't really need these kinds of features. We just need to give them novelty. And if we're not out there supporting these concepts and these initiatives and trying to kind of like, we have to do the marketing because it's not a mainstream consumer idea for Western countries. I feel like Samsung will have no problems pulling the plug on DeX in a year or two.
Well, the problem that I see is that they also have to guard the bottom line of all their other product lines, right? Like, they want to sell tablets, they want to sell laptops, and lots of times, like, a lot of the bigger questions I see asked by folks is they want a higher quality screen on a laptop, they want a better trackpad, they want this, they want that. But as soon as you start driving the cost up of what's essentially a peripheral, like, your adoption rate goes from like 10%, and I'm probably being super generous at 10%, down to under 1%, because like that UPerfect X Pro, perfect example, $600. Why?
Exactly. Well, but we have a critically difficult conversation in the tech sphere. And this is where I'm the nagging guy who's always, getting made fun of on our Android, and that's being kind to say I'm getting made fun of, is we are terrible as techies at evaluating the value of something. For example, a couple years back, I reviewed a laptop hub. And it was like $150 laptop hub, but it was weighted, and it had this really soft fabric covering, and it had this really great cable management system and a Qi charger on top, and it glowed and it lit up and it looked really nice on your desk. And that product got savaged because it's basically the same thing as like a $30 laptop hub from a gray market label that I got on Amazon. And you're like, no, this is something that has to live on someone's desk. And so that UPerfect Pro, that price puts a serious crimp in who I'm going to recommend that to. But the notion that you could have that nicer, larger portable display, it's still going to function with everything else you want to plug it into, and it's going to live on a desk somewhere, so that when you come home, you plug in your phone and that's your computer, and you want that to be a little bit nicer. Well, that's a bridge too far, and techies can't kind of conceptualize that difference. And that's why even when we get down to like a sub $300 laptop, oh, but I could buy a Chromebook. And in 2 years, your Chromebook is going to be garbage. It's going to be legit awful. And you're probably going to be off the train for software updates too. So again, I know I'm repeating a lot of the stuff that DeX aficionados are already kind of on board for, but I also feel like we need to be vigilant where if someone comes out with something nicer, it's not on us to poo-poo it. I mean, well, it's about us trying to find there is a smaller community of us who already grok this computing. Then there's going to be a much smaller community of people within that community who don't want the absolute lowest dollar accessory. And it's fine to say like, yeah, that's too expensive for me, but I recognize that there is probably someone out there who is willing to spend more on a product which should last several phone generations.
Yes.
I don't want to buy the cheapest accessory component just to save a couple dollars. I want to buy something that is going to last over a couple of generations of product because it's going to be sitting on my desk and looking nicer.
Yeah. I've been I lost count how many times I've been asked on social media when they asking me which kind of device I recommend, a laptop or screen for the Samsung DeX. And then sort of conversation, they coming to me with a question, but the conversation ends up they telling me why I'm recommending if they can go and buy the Chromebook for the same price.
Yeah.
So it's a hard, it is a bit like it's a nice tech. And like last year I was using like 8 to 10 months constantly working from home using just Samsung DeX. And not one single customer noticed something different about my workload, about my performance with them. It just was a bit of a couple of times I raised eyebrows when I was screen sharing. They're like, this looks like a Mac. No, it's not a Mac. Because the icons in the middle. They're like, oh, it's a Mac. I'm like, don't go on Apple with me because I can go.
And we have to jump through like those metaphors. Like, what is it? It's your phone is a computer.
Yes.
At the end of the day, you're paying a lot of money for a pocket computer.
Yes. Yeah.
Are you getting any of that performance out of it? Because I don't think you are.
Yeah, and it's so many times when I've been asked, like, when somebody's have a phone and they asking, oh, I need a new laptop, and they're holding like Note 20 in their hand, and like, what you using for? Emails, browsing, etc. And even by the person's age, you can say he's not going to go and start creating 3D rendering or something.
Yeah.
So you just go and buy this technology, this any laptop or even a portable screen, or even if you have a monitor, just get yourself USB-C hub, etc. And always, majority of the time, my question says, or the comment I receive from them, is it Windows? Like, can I run Excel on this? I mean, not like an Excel app, but like Excel.
Right.
I'm like, no, but this is different.
But are you? And we had the conversation again when we're talking about these things. It's actually not the techies that I've been appealing to. It's been the quote unquote average consumers, because we're still in the middle of extraordinary circumstances. The world around us is an incredibly exciting and crazy place, but in the midst of that, we're facing some of the worst component shortages in the technology sphere.
Yes.
The tech is getting more expensive for those shipping and manufacturing and assembly costs, and the people who are already the most vulnerable in our society when it comes to technology adoption are increasingly being left behind. But we've been kind of ratcheting it up, this pulse of like, buy the latest and greatest phone, lease it. It's only going to be an extra $30 or $40 a month on your cell phone bill. But then we also kind of discourage any more advanced use. We talk down to these average consumers that all you're going to do is push the auto shutter button in your camera app and share a TikTok, when you're talking about families and you're saying like you've already invested in this phone and you need another computer for a child's schooling or from a work from home initiative, and it's taking you so long to get this hardware in house, plug in your phone.
Yes. Yeah.
Do this work from a proper keyboard and mouse, and you will see that a significant chunk of the work that you need to accomplish is probably accomplishable from a phone. And it's an idea that I feel outside of, sort of the more Western tech enthusiast sector. There are so many communities and regions around the world where someone's only lifeline, their only computing device, their only accessibility to the internet at large is going to be like a cell phone we would scoff at here.
Oh,
And
yes,
trying to get this idea to percolate outside of that community where we have more accessibility to really nice electronics has been exceedingly difficult. And so that's also where I get really lit up about competition. Like, I was actually a bigger fan of LG Screen Plus. I still haven't gotten to spend any time with Ready For. I want to see if Moto has done anything unique to that. TCL's first generation of a desktop mode with the 20 Pro and their glasses rocked my socks. Like, it is way better than any first generation version of that product has any right to be.
Yes,
so when we see these little glimmers, like, Lenovo is the right company to give me a laptop dock. If you want to see a Nextdock 360 done right, why not go to the company that originally gave us 360-degree wraparound hinges? Like, that should be a no-brainer. But the only product they've put out for it is just an awkward, like, phone stand. That's your Ready For dock, and you're like, that's awful. I had a better version of that with Continuum on Windows Phone.
And I would wager it's product managers from different segments in each company that are fighting each other. And that's why, like, Samsung put out a lapdog in 2011, 2012, the Spider. That didn't make it out of Korea. I mean, looked awesome. Didn't make it out of Korea. All we got was that little white multimedia hub, which was, like the predecessor to the DeX station.
But
I'm calling it the DeX.
It was amazing. It was awesome. It worked great. I used that for years.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh no!
DeX Grandpa.
I used that for years,
and it still works on my Note 4 if I can find it.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
But this is, jokes aside. Just another day I was playing around to. My ideas for videos about DeX is not show people that DeX is only for edit a document, send an email, watch a TikTok, etc. I'm basically like, just before live stream, I'm sorting out like a clustering thing inside DeX. This is already like blows my mind how the hell I can run this on my, I'm running from a tablet because my phone is not capable. But I tested this out just another day, and replying emails, etc. It's perfectly fine. It's not DeX. You just convert your phone into a bigger screen. But like you mentioned, Juan, the countries, the groups of people that only device to go online is the phone, and we are fortunate. We are a bit spoiled with choices. When you have 300, 400 bucks in your hand and you have option to buy a laptop, a Chromebook, etc. No one probably gonna think twice just to go Samsung DeX way, even if they have like 1,000 mobile phone in the pocket that is basically stuffed with so much RAM that doesn't need at all.
Yeah, we do a terrible job of leveraging the tech that's in our pocket already.
Yeah, well, and I think we've been overselling an idea of novelty to consumers that I think consumers are actually burnt out on. I mean, like, when we're getting ready for an iPhone launch that seems to be one of the least exciting iPhone launches in recent history, and we're already talking about the next 2 generations of iPhones in the tech sphere because we need the clicks, like, the consumer conversation, I think they've stopped listening to a lot of us techies just because we kind of ride that hype wave. And there are only so many times that you can go in, get that new phone, be promised the world. It's the mostest, amazingest, forward-thinkingest product this company has ever made. And then you get it home and you don't do anything different with it. You use it the same way that you used your last phone. Your experience is going to be the same as your last phone.
Yes.
And so for my family, we've been playing the game of every year that we upgrade from now on, they don't need more compute power. They don't need better cameras. I mean, better cameras are nice, but since the Pixel 3a, they've been good. The point and shoot kind of photography, the little snapshots and daily life stuff, they're covered. And so now we see like every time you upgrade, can you shave another $100 off and stay at the same compute power? So when they were out there shopping Snapdragon 835s and 845s, now they're all down to like 765s and 660s. And you're like, yeah, they're good. They're covered. Yeah. They're still shooting 4K video, and they're still getting all of their social media stuff done. Their phones are communicators, and they're spending way less. So what I feel is the flip side of that is, if I'm going to talk about $1,000 phone, a $1,200 phone, I'm super stoked to get my hands on another Sony Xperia after going hands on with a pre-release.
Xperia Play Part 2.
Right? Well, I mean, that would be cool. But actually, I kind of like the little controller and cradle mount that I've got for playing on Android. So I'm the right accessory guy for the right job kind of conversation. If it's a laptop, then I use my Steel series. If it's on the phone, I use a DualShock. I mean, again, it's picking the right tool for the right job. But if I'm going to talk about those phones, I'm going to talk about those phones in ways that they can potentially disrupt other compute devices. And that's something that the rest of the review space kind of gave up in the conversation, was like, there is a good reason to spend $1,000 on a phone. There is an increasingly small niche of consumers that I think that's the right fit for. And instead, we've been overselling this like, oh, the cameras are amazing. Yeah. Are they? I don't think they are.
Yeah, yes, it's like my Note 9, and I've been asked a couple of times, like, why I'm still using Note 9.
Note 9 is the perfect example of like, that's peak Samsung. Yeah, I would say from the Note 9, everything is kind of downhill.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're using Note 9 is slow. Okay, for what I do with this Docker containers, Note 9 is slow. Right. But for everything else, Note 9 dies today. Okay, I need a new phone. Do I care that the camera is 1,000,000 megapixels? I'll take the photo of my son. It's probably going to look exactly the same as on the Note 9 it was.
I can show you where one of these new pixel binning super large sensors can outperform it was a 1/2.55 inch sensor on the Note 9. I can demonstrate that. What I feel is problematic is when we act like the auto shutter out of the box, I never adjust any settings because average consumers never adjust any settings conversation.
They not go pro. Yeah, they not go Swiss.
So again, to get more out of that hardware, you have to want to do more with that hardware.
Yes.
It's on the user. And if we don't demonstrate that, again, there were so many reviews where it was like, the Galaxy S21 Ultra and the iPhone 12 Pro Max have physically larger sensors, so we're not even going to shoot on a Pixel 5. We're not even going to demonstrate those differences. And you're like, that's hack reviewing. That's lazy. Because if you can't show, if it's so easy to write off one phone because of some perceived advantage, that you should be able to show me. And if you can't show me, then you didn't really do your job as a reviewer. So that's a soapboxy, really rambling, roundabout way to kind of come back to this idea where, if on a road trip, I've got a premium tier phone. If I'm cutting podcasts, a Snapdragon 888 is actually kind of nice to have. How that chip actually manipulates audio data is a generational improvement over the 865. If I'm shooting a lot of 4K video, I probably want the 865 because the 888 tends to overheat. So even on a Xiaomi or a Samsung, it's running too hot. If I'm on a Samsung, I probably don't want to be editing a lot of 4K video and rendering a lot of 4K video because of the way that Samsung does their CPU throttling. So I probably instead want to go with like a last year LG or something like a Sony where I'd have HS power control. Again, like if we're not really talking about the nuanced differences in the same way that we talk about laptops, there is no laptop reviewer out there who's like, it's a mid-range laptop and you do mid-range average consumer things on it. That laptop reviewer would be laughed out of the room. But that's all we get in cell phone conversation now, because we've just accepted that these are the lowest common denominator communicator devices, and maybe you want to spend a lot just to fashion flex.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah, it's buying a new gadget just because you want to be one up your friend.
And that's not who I want to talk to. I mean, again, I don't want to take the fun out of someone who owns a $5,000 purse, right? That purchase made that person feel good. It fits their look. It fits their style, something about their brain. They went and bought that $5,000 purse. Great. I'm happy they're happy, but that's not the person I make videos for. And that's not the geeky lunchroom table in the cafeteria that I want to hang out at.
Yeah, it is hard. When like I'm getting asked what kind of phone I suggest for Samsung DeX use, and sometimes I feel that the person who's asking me, they just want to make sure that they're buying the best one, not because DeX will work better, because it's like new. Let's say Samsung launched Samsung launched Note 30. It has super CPU, super RAM, which is like overkill for Samsung DeX. But no, I'm gonna probably it's gonna be weird to say, but I'm gonna eat less, I'm gonna sleep less, I'm gonna work more just to save this $2-3 just to buy a phone that's probably gonna use only 30-40%. It's like,
well, and also it's difficult to get across the conversation that there can be those types of lifestyle and work differences between different phones. And it's something like, again, like I made that crack about laptop reviewers. There's no such thing as a laptop, a mid-ranger laptop and a flagship laptop. Is it a flagship laptop? I want to buy the bestest laptop. I mean, we don't talk about it that way. And in phones, we lose sight of that conversation too. Anyone who's complaining about the Z Flip battery life is phenomenally bad at tech. Like you're properly bad at analyzing and understanding what role a piece of consumer electronics plays into. Like that is not a phone for hardcore heavy users.
Yeah,
it wasn't designed to be. Yeah. Samsung isn't even trying to pretend it is. Samsung calls that a statement phone, not a flagship or a powerhouse. Or
don't expect to run like videos 24 hours a day on this.
Yeah, or play games on it real hardcore with a fragile.
It's more like you dress up like you put the watch and everything, and it's
a pocket smartwatch.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yes,
exactly. and it's a beautiful. It is an incredible version of that. But you're not going to say that, well, for $1,000 I can get something else and get something more power and features. Like that's not the point.
Yeah, the whole point is that you flip it open to grab the contact of the business guy that you're talking to.
Yeah.
Or grandma wants to show you her cat.
Story. My company that I'm working for, my boss, he owned a Fold 2. And just recently he's bought a Fold 3. And first thing he told me after using for a couple of days, he said battery life is bad. And I'm like, I know why his battery life is bad. Because 24 hours a day, he's always on a phone. So it's always killing them. Basically, if he's not chatting with me on Skype, he's on a phone. And I'm thinking, why you got this phone to make phone calls?
Yeah. Well, and then see, the thing is, I don't want to harsh his buzz. You know, like I don't.
Oh no, I'm happy that he's happy. Like you said, I'm happy that he's happy. But like,
but see, like for me, it was like when the LG V60 came out, and I still am actually a really big fan of LG's flavor of dual display. I really like how they've cleaned it up and how they cleaned it up over a couple of software updates, and I think the practicality of that is actually a better consumer use than plastic single screen. Sorry, this is going to be a little rambling because like I'm only about halfway through my cup of coffee here. But some of those advantages, like what you're talking about, like being able to prop up a phone in a really unique way, it's what I love about the Duo. You know, like if I want to jump on a call and I can angle my phone in any orientation that I want, then it facilitates that need better. And I think the Fold actually does a pretty good job of that. But it's funny, like I wrote this editorial at Pocket Now like years ago. Where people always complain about battery life, but when we give them better battery life, they don't use their phone the way their older phone. They see like, oh, I can use it more in between charges, and so you end up tanking it even more. So when you're trying to express like, hey, your Fold 3 likely has poorer battery life because of the changes that Samsung made, the hotter, more powerful processor that Samsung put in there, all of the screen refresh rate stuff that techies claim is so mandatory, but regular consumers can't really see the difference. Like, all of that adds up to a product that actually fits your needs less good than the product you already had.
Yeah.
And we have this notion like, well, every year I need to get the bestest, when so few people can demonstrate to me, especially tech reviewers. Again, most of my criticisms here are on the people leading these discussions, not the consumers that are buying this stuff. Tech reviewers can't show me what is it that you're doing on your phone that a Snapdragon 855 would be inadequate to perform. Because as far as I can tell, tech reviewers use 5G and they have screen on time, and that's it. Like, if it's not a Geekbench score,
exactly.
they can't talk about it.
Exactly. Like me, not now, but a while back, before I think Note 9 or before my dad, I was watching videos about reviewing the phone, and I do understand what these kind of videos shows up. Okay, screen on time, 4 hours, 5 hours, but I want to know, can I use my phone, I don't know, to live stream? Let's say, for me as a geeky thing, can I host a website on my phone? I'm working in a company where we create websites, so I want to basically ability to have a copy of the website of the client running on my phone. I can do right now this Nextdoor 360, my Note 9 connected to the side, on Gas Tab S6, and I have my work with me, my personal portable server is always with me. So I'm watching these reviewers, these people, this not going on, like, say, it's not me like rambling about certain tech reviewers, but it's like,
no, let it out. It's good to sort of vomit.
like,
You don't want to keep it inside. It gets toxic.
It feels like they giving you a review with a cherry on top. It's very glazed up, and this is what the similar thing I feel about people who's doing Samsung DeX reviews.
Yeah,
very, very well famous channels with millions and millions of subscribers. I know that from you, Juan, that you actually use Samsung DeX. Looking from your videos, you're actually using it. Others who's received an email from somewhere, boom, we want to get a sponsored video from you. Like, we're gonna just do a video, and they done a video about Samsung DeX. They saying, oh, like you said, well, it does things. You can open the browser. Well done. That's it. It's a desktop environment, and shuts the DeX and never ever touches again. And people reading comments, people watching these videos, and they end up skipping this technology.
Yeah.
Like, no, I can't run my website on the Samsung DeX. I'm not gonna buy it. I'm gonna go buy a Chromebook.
Or it makes me concerned when one of the massive updates for DeX, one of the biggest, highest visible updates, was their partnership with Microsoft.
Yeah,
I'm not, for me, I understand why that would be a benefit for some people. So again, I'm saying this literally, like, my bias is, so let's get that squared away. I understand the people out there who would appreciate it, but to me, it is not the killer app of a pocket computer that I can run another desktop environment on another full-fledged computer. That to me is not a benefit, and it doesn't really help enable any better work or any better completion of my tasks.
Yeah,
I need better apps to kind of round out what makes DeX and other desktop modes so compelling. And I was hoping, like, when Apple was getting into more, when they started really calling their phones pros, that this would encourage software developers to really kind of pick up the mobile application space and make these things a little more full featured. And we've seen it. I mean, we have seen apps that are now a bit more competitive against their desktop counterparts, but I was really hoping that this would spur along faster innovation. And unfortunately, it's a tough idea to get across. And
I noticed one of the comment in the chat from saying it feels good in the hand, browsing is fluid.
I showed you the Geekbench score. What more do you want?
Yeah. Oh, it's scored 50 points more than previous.
And they can't tell me why that matters. They can't show me a practical application of that.
I think I talked about this with Brad. It's a spec sheet war.
Yeah, it has been for years.
And it really has been.
I mean, I like a couple of weeks ago I discovered Docker, and I mean I'm basically so much stuff I'm doing right now on my phone that I'm really feel that
I've only like fingernail scraped the surface of Docker. I mean, see,
Yeah.
so, like when I talk about, you know, getting work done, obviously a major component of my work is AV. You know, so I'm constantly recording audio. I love hosting interviews, podcasts, recording videos and stuff, and almost all of my B-roll now is captured from phones, and quite a few of my videos are just edited straight on the phone. If I already have all the content there, I can just import my A-roll from another camera. I don't have to move files around and stuff.
I do the same. Most of the stuff is edited on a tablet or started on a tablet, and final touches on a PC or just and you're using AV. I mean, like web stuff. I'm trying to see, because if we're gonna move a website to a different server, which is created into Kubernetes, this kind of thing, we don't want to spend $50 a month for me to dip my fingers in it. I'm just gonna create my own on my Note 9. I don't need Note 20.
Well, and see, and that's exactly the point. Again, I kind of lost the thread a couple minutes ago, when I went back, because like I said, I genuinely was a fan of LG phones. So for me, it was all about Screen Plus. But when I did need to pick up something recently to kind of showcase DeX again, and I wanted another DeX enabled device when the next dock came in, I went back to an S10e. Out of all of the Samsungs that I've played with recently, like for me, that was the last time I'd had fun with a Samsung. S20 didn't do it for me. S21 is a dog. I really don't like what they did with the S21.
The S10 line is great.
The S10. So I'm back on a lowly Snapdragon 855, cutting up 4K 60 video and recording podcasts like it's nothing. And like this phone doesn't slow down for anything, even though it's the reduced version of an S10. And you're like, there is so much untapped compute power in everybody's pockets right now. Going back to a Note 9 and having that more feature complete experience matters more than eking out an extra 10% CPU power. Like it makes the phone better not having the hotter chipset in many situations.
I don't expect Note 9 will be my 12-core CPU. When I'm tinkering around, I expect that my running command in a terminal will not take 2 seconds. It's going to take 12 seconds. I do expect that. But then others think that this is very bad, like disadvantaged. I need a better. I need, just run slower. Go and buy a 7 tablet. And I'm like, no, my devices around me is perfectly fine. I don't even use 100% of what they are capable of.
Like I think the part that kills me is that like I come from like ISP telecom data center world. And we'll have clients in looking to do this or that or whatever, and we'll have them up in the boardroom, grab the S10, project it to one of the big 75-inch screens up there, show them an example of, we're going into a VM, we're doing this, we're doing that. And they all sit there wide-eyed, jaws on the floor. You're doing that with your phone? That's like, man, like,
wow, you're like
guys running huge companies.
You're like Matrix thing. You just came from the future.
But the fact that like this is something that we've been doing for years. This is the first time they're seeing it is slightly terrifying.
Well, to me, that's that exact same experience, but with family, is incredibly empowering. So my nephew lives in rural New Mexico. He's got a garbage laptop for school. I mean, we're talking like maybe a $300 Windows machine. That was their kind of school assigned laptop. And when I went out to visit him, I had those TCLs, the glasses, the Nextwear. And I'm like, well, I can show you this and blah, 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 blah. I think you're really going to like this. And and by the way, this is like a prototype. Like no one in the United States has these yet. And so his little nerd brain is just like firing like just like crazy. So I go to pull out my V60 and I'm like, wait a minute, Cito, what phone do you have? And he goes, oh, my mom and dad got me an S10. You're like, oh, dude.
Just use that.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
And so not only did I get to demonstrate a prototype of these wearable glasses, I did it on his phone. And he had never heard of DeX before. He'd never seen it in action. They didn't have like, you know, I guess he could have plugged it into a TV if he'd known about it, but they don't have spare monitors and keyboards and mice lying around. So I plug it into his phone, and basically then just he went off and running. I didn't need to like walk him around. You know, like that geek concern that regular people are going to need these things explained. Yeah. He saw that his phone screen turned into a trackpad and he was done. Yeah. And like within a minute, he was playing Five Nights at Freddy's in the most immersive, like almost VR style way possible. Yeah. Yeah. And now he knows, like, he legit has a more powerful computer in his pocket than what he gets from school. And he can access that power in a more meaningful way.
Oh, and sorry, I want to jump in here for half a second. We talked about the Microsoft tie-in. Mm-hmm. So coming from an environment where, you know, maybe I'm going out to a consumer location to teach them about, you know, why you don't put your servers next to the water pipe and the water heater and stuff. Having the ability, as long as they've got a Windows machine there, to dump my DeX stuff onto their screen via your phone, or if they allow me to install the DeX app.
Yeah,
even that can be amazing.
Yeah, I was thinking, what this is probably looking what Samsung and Microsoft partnership. What I think they might pull off, or what they need to pull off, is these kind of things like Samsung DeX on Windows. It runs okay, but most of the times, like you said, Brad, they probably is more for show and tell kind of thing.
Yes, absolutely.
What I would like the Samsung and Microsoft to do is when you plug in your Galaxy device to a Windows machine, it's basically you can control DeX via browser. No installation is required. You plug it in, you open a browser.
And to that same concern, like, another lifetime ago, I used to do some JIT work for Department of Energy facility. And the idea of me being able to plug into a computer is a non-starter. That's never going to happen. But what I could do is just plug directly into the monitor. Yeah. Like, they wouldn't have had an issue with me disconnecting a monitor cable from one of their systems, and then I just plug that in. And in fact,
both.
Well, I understand why people would want both, but for me, the time it would take to install or to sort of host on another system when I could just plug directly into the screen and go from there.
No, absolutely.
Is again, I'm saying from my bias and from my personal use, I'm always going to want to show the best flavor of it. And to me, that's the direct cable connection straight to the monitor.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, the direct native connection is always performance.
And then it's also, I don't know of any situations where I've just been able to install software to run something like that on someone else's.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And it's one of those things where in our particular company, because we happen to also be a big Microsoft shop, all that stuff is there. And so as long as you're on the right Wi-Fi, it'll work.
Sure.
I mean, going forward, Convergence says hopefully that every interface, video interface going forward, is going to be USB-C. Mm-hmm. Hopefully. So in theory, all you need to carry around is your 3-foot, 6-foot cable, and bang, bang, done. And then you have, like you said, your native desktop experience off of your handheld server.
So, and when it comes to the Microsoft side of this, it's where I got really critically excited for the Duo, was watching Microsoft futz with Android in a way where it could almost split the difference on a natural Android wasted space environment and a split screen multitasking environment where you almost wouldn't need a desktop mode.
Yeah.
Like the Duo actually got us really close to the right idea there. So if Microsoft is going to
Courier.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's so hard to explain if you haven't like spent some time with the Duo, but like Android as a tablet OS is kind of garbage. Again, if I were to pick up any tablet, it would be Samsung so that I could use DeX and not use the Android UI as the front end. But what Microsoft has done with the way that they automatically split screen your apps, it's kind of the reverse of how an iPad works, is so much more practical So again, even when it comes to the Microsoft side of that equation, I would still prefer, like, you know, if you're going to look at an Android environment doing something like that, or some kind of skin or UI on top of it that facilitates better multitasking, and that suddenly gets a lot more interesting than what we've been using in the past.
Yeah, it's the Microsoft Duo. It is the interesting, and like you said, yeah, it's very close to this kind of productivity boost device. I would not say that the Microsoft Duo is like you said, the novelty watch kind of thing in a pocket.
No.
That would be
No.
like,
You know, like, and I had to kind of sort of, my feelings evolved on the Duo a lot. It's not a very good phone, and I don't think anyone's shocked by that. It's genuinely one of the best LTE connected tablets I think you can buy. You know, it's a companion device, and it's a really expensive one because it has hinges. Or I mean, it was. Now it's on fire sale. But the whole idea there is, can you take an iPad mini and put it in your pocket without having cargo shorts? You know, like, it is. I mean, like, we shouldn't be surprised. Microsoft can make a pretty good tablet, and they've made a really good one with the Duo that can turn into a passable phone. So again, I just kind of moving all over the place here, because these are some of my normal soapboxing elements and stuff. It's just it's an interesting place that we're in right now, where I've been using the Nextdock 360 a lot. It is basically my secondary computer.
Yeah.
It lives downstairs. I actually didn't even bring it up, like, to use it as a prop, because it's downstairs in our dining room area. And whenever we're down there, any phone that I have on me is the phone that connects to it. So even on a silly phone like a OnePlus 9 or a Sony Xperia that doesn't have a desktop mode, I still want a keyboard and trackpad. I still want, you know, if I'm going to be in the middle of my Discord server, I don't want to be there like swipe typing on my thumbs. I just plug it in and I can go to a real keyboard and reply to all of those chat messages right there.
As soon as I finish my work, my private life, everything is around the Nextdock, around the DeX. Even I have Microsoft Surface device, but this is my work, so it's all there. Obviously, DeX, I want to split the work and on my private life. There is a Windows PC machine behind me, but I think we were speaking a couple of days ago on a Skype with Brad, and the things that I'm doing right now with Samsung DeX, I can do much easier on Windows.
Mm-hmm.
But because I'm doing this on DeX, I'm getting more excited. I'm doing, instead of on Windows will take me 10 steps, on DeX takes me 15, slightly longer. But I'm doing this on my phone, and my missus calls me, or I need to do something. I unplug my phone and carry on writing commands on my phone. And this is like one device rule them all. And the Samsung DeX, it feels just like the right thing to do. Just Samsung not marketing properly. I feel that this not. I had an email a couple of weeks ago for interview. The guy from New York asked me for an hour or so chat. So he just asked my opinions about Samsung DeX, and one of his questions was, why you think Samsung like DeX is not being picked up by the people, a lot of people, and more people than it does now. And I think what's happened when the Samsung introduced the wireless DeX, the reason that a lot of people discovering, or most of the people will discover Samsung DeX, is when you came back from your family holiday, you want to show your photos to the TV, and you know that you can cast the photos to a TV. And people by accident finding out the Samsung DeX, because no one's gonna go like, oh, what's gonna happen if I'm gonna plug in my phone to monitor?
Right.
But people like, oh, I took a photo of my dog. Let me show it to you. Oh, what's this? Oh, I never seen this before. Let's Google it. Oh, it's Samsung DeX. Wow. But when you're going on YouTube, I never when they launched the new Galaxy phones, the previous ones, and when they introduced the wireless DeX, for all the time that I was watching YouTube, I seen the ad about it twice, and nothing else. And even some of the people that works on Samsung doesn't know what Samsung DeX is. So it's just
and I think it is also important to remember. I bring this point up a lot in other conversations about these like multi-billion-dollar international conglomerate companies, is that Samsung isn't one thing. it is a warring community of tiny little factions of power and profitability, and they get different they get different funds every year to kind of facilitate what they want to do. And again, if Samsung thinks that they can make more money selling novelty phones, then we're probably going to see DeX decline even further. To me, it's what you were saying before. It's that notion of, you know, laptop sales and tablet sales and smartphone sales, and really positioning DeX as a solution might. And the thing is that we don't even have the data because they've never tried, but it might eat into tablet and laptop sales. Yeah. So you can put it out there as a perk or a feature of your phone, and especially because they needed to respond to some of the functionality that Huawei was showing off when Huawei was really eating Samsung's lunch in, especially in Asian sales. When Huawei was really primed to kind of overtake Samsung in a number of markets. So Huawei put out a desktop mode and was competing directly against DeX. And there was an arms race there because two top players were doing it. Well, right now, Samsung's massive competition is Xiaomi. And even on a $1,300 Xiaomi phone, they don't even have video out. So if you have a Mi 11 Ultra, you can't even get video out of that phone. So what does Samsung have to worry about? There is no competition for productivity, for functionality.
The lack. So there is obviously DeX. Then we have the EMUI desktop. I was excited that the Google was announcing something about the Android desktop. That was like, okay, this is going to be a wake up call to a Samsung to do something.
It only matters if a player as large. Because, I mean, come on, it didn't even matter when LG did it. You know, that wasn't something that put a fire under Samsung. We saw them putting it into keynotes and shows and talking about new features and functionality when it was Samsung v Huawei. That was really, I mean, like the golden age of all of these things getting more feature complete, becoming way more useful and way more practical than they were before. We could forget the distant memories of the Motorola Atrix. I mean, like this stuff was legit and it was real. And it was what was that, around the Mate 10 Pro when we really saw this stuff take off. I mean, I still have an Honor V20 on, it was it a Kirin 960? That thing's a beast. That is still a phenomenal phone today. Without any recent software updates or any polish on it, it is still a terrific desktop mode enabled phone today. So this is where I'm concerned. You know, Samsung has never made this consumer accessible. It always requires digging through settings, understanding the relationship on screencasting. There is no consumer-facing Samsung-approved accessory that you plug in with one cable and everything is easy to use or ready to go. And I feel like DeX's days are numbered if we don't see this feature actually requested.
They need to come out with at least a desktop dock. Like they need a brand new version of the DeX station to at least say, here, we'll install this beside every PC you have, beside every monitor that you have, slap your phone in and you take your desktop with you.
Because the third-party companies that are creating USB-C hubs, they need to go through an enormous task because so many USB-C hubs I tested, even the two USB-C hubs from the same company that they are 8-9 months apart of manufacturing.
Not the same. Well, because again, and this is my fear for laptop docks being only being made from boutique companies now. I mean, it is. I'm glowing on the next Dock 360, but we have to express, like, if you want one, you've got to get in line, and wait for their pre-order system to finally collect all of the components. And I can't judge a next Dock 360 from first batch manufacturing to when they close out the next Dock 360 and move on to another model. I won't know if those are the same components, same batteries, same controllers. I mean, there's no way for me to know that. I won't have my hands on both. So I don't know if that consumer experience is going to be exactly the same. Again, I was an LG fan, so the next Dock Touch did not like the LG V60. Those two did not get along.
The next Dock Touch wasn't great.
It wasn't great, but it worked phenomenally well with my Samsung devices. So again, differences in controllers, differences in screens,
Yep.
differences in components
Yes,
make
yeah.
a huge difference in the consumer
Absolutely.
experience. And so if I say, hey, I really like the Nextdock 360 and someone picks it up and then their experience is very different, I kind of have to believe them.
Yeah, I'm going through my review on 360, and it feels that I will put this 360 on a gold plate. I'm going to say this is the right thing to go for, and it's always the experience that I learned from going through USB-C hubs. This small chip inside can screw everything over, and if the screen is phenomenal in this, from all the Nextdock lapdocs I own, this screen is like amazing. But that doesn't mean that the next person in line will get the same thing. And
that's why we need a larger. I mean, it's good when we do have a larger player actually making this stuff, and why
we need Samsung to dump us a nice Super AMOLED 360 hinge with a beautiful trackpad.
And understand that when Samsung does that, it's going to be like a $600.
Yeah, I was about to say this is not going to be.
But as long as it's like a 2K or a 4K screen, so that you've got room to grow.
I mean, this is actually part of the issue. Samsung does it first generation. It's probably not going to be a 2K or 4K screen.
No,
it's probably not going to be functionally much different than a boutique solution.
Yeah.
But what we would be paying for would be, say, like the R&D that goes into manufacturing it, the better components with better QA. That when you buy one, I mean, again, but beyond being a beta test, what I would expect to be paying for is consistency, the ability to actually ship it on a reasonable timetable, where getting that manufacturing in place is prohibitively expensive for a lot of companies these days. And then to know that it's not going to be replaced in 6 months, and I won't have access to parts, service, warranties, cost, money. I mean, all of these things that makes an ecosystem of products. That's what we're paying for. It probably won't be much different than a Nextdock. What's going to be what you're paying in for is the entire ecosystem in a global shipping and distribution fashion. And that's, again, it's going to be a bridge too far for a lot of people out there. I mean, like, oh, why would I spend $600 on this Super AMOLED 1080p display when I can go out and buy a Nextdock? And you're like, that's cool. Go do that. Yeah. I get it. But if you want this idea to survive and to succeed, we have to understand that we can't always buy on fire sale or on price reduction. Or, I mean, like, we actually have to show the companies they can make money.
Yeah, the big guy needs to make money with it, and then everyone else will come.
Yeah. And so it's on us. I mean, I'll be the tip of the spear. I've spent so much money on companies that have failed and have broken my heart. But I'm not going to sit on the sidelines patting myself on the back for never trying this stuff because I was pretty sure it wasn't going to work. You know, like, no, I want tech to get better and to innovate. And so I'm in a position where I have the means to, so I'll do it. But I'm not going to suffer these conversations from tech enthusiasts, so-called, that also like poo-poo, like, oh, well, I mean, if you want that, wait for generation 3. Like, no. I want it.
You don't get to 3 without 1 being successful. Yeah.
So I'm gonna do this.
You need to tell them that it is successful. Otherwise, they will try. They will disappear, and then you're gonna be angry at Samsung or whatever company they're saying. Oh,
well, but this is also, I mean, like for a community from the R Samsung DeX subreddit here, I would be concerned. LG is out of the game. Moto is a shadow of its former self. The only other player making anything desktop mode adjacent is TCL. If we're not reading the writing on the wall, that DeX's days are probably numbered, and the success of a phone like the Z Flip is going to contribute to that conversation from Samsung's perspective, then we need to be a bit more proactive about supporting good competition, highlighting features and services, and then just being the grassroots that I know this subreddit is already a part of, but sharing this stuff with family and friends who we know aren't taking advantage of the full power of their portable.
I think I mentioned this in a previous chat a while back. We have a CEX shop here in UK. Basically, you bring your stuff and you get money for it. It's like a
Oh,
basically.
nice.
So I went there to buy something, and there was a couple behind me, over 50s. They were selling their phone because they needed money to give to the son or someone to buy a laptop for their
Ah,
students or work. And the phone they were selling, it was Note 20, Note 10.
no.
And I'm like, how much you gonna get for this phone? Oh, they're offering like £400-500. So it's
Oh
like,
no.
and I basically they behind me, so the counter sorted me out, and I'm walking away. I'm looking at them, and they're giving the phone. The guy's inspecting because there's like grade A, grade B, and grade C. Grade
Hmm.
A is like no marks, no scratches, have a box, and grade C is basically lower. And
Yeah.
I'm like, sorry, can I ask you why you're selling? So they explained to me. I'm like, you go buy a keyboard, buy a
Yeah.
mouse, but he's probably already owned the monitor. You have a TV, probably, obviously, you have a TV,
Yeah.
and that's it. And you're gonna give away a phone to buy a
Oh
computer,
no.
which is probably
Yeah.
so they end up canceling the order. And as far as I know, well, probably they're using DeX now. So
I
it's
mean,
just
this is the kind of conversation I need to have in my comments, person by I have 130,000 YouTube subscribers. I'm not a huge channel in the grand scheme of YouTube, but that's a lot. And I still need to go person by person to like pull the teeth, extract this idea out of them to acknowledge that, you know, we're our conversations about phones are horrifically lopsided. This is a sad state that we're in right now, where with the people that should be most into this idea take the most convincing. And when, like, you described that scenario, like when I was working with my nephew and I got to show him on his S10 how DeX worked. Average consumers don't have a problem with this. They really don't. They see the functionality. What's intimidating is, oh, well, I need to buy a hub, and then, well, if I already have a keyboard and a mouse and a monitor, and all that takes up space. Okay, well, I mean, like, at some point, where do I just go and get a regular computer that I'm more familiar with? And I
yes.
can't fault that idea.
That's
But if I had a Samsung branded approved product that had the screen, that had the keyboard, that had the trackpad, had all the ports, functionality ready to go, maybe, because again, I'm talking about family members that are like living just outside of Native American reservations. You know, maybe they can't maybe they can't jump on like the bestest versions of Wi-Fi, and they definitely don't have 5G. You know, maybe that DeX dock needs to have an Ethernet port, because cables are still a real big thing for a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
If I could give them that and say, like, hey, not only is this going to work with the phone you already have, but I'm pretty confident it's going to work with the next phone, which is going to make this even more powerful than it is today.
Yeah, you don't buy for one phone generation. You need to.
But right
the really
now,
interesting thing. Sorry, let me jump in here.
Yeah, for sure.
Super interesting thing that I saw. I think it's Lenovo. They've put out that 11-inch tablet that also has HDMI in.
Mm-hmm.
All Samsung would have to do on their next cool 360 AMOLED laptop is have a USB-C in. That as soon as you plug your Samsung phone into that, boom, it's a lapdog. That would be amazing.
There are a number of things that I think kind of help facilitate the idea of doing more with your phone. Obviously, it's not consumer focused at all, but an Xperia Pro, which had an HDMI input so that you could use it as a monitor for your camera. You could use it to insert a camera and really run a live stream. I mean, again, what Sony has been doing with inputs on their phones has been kind of incredible, and they're
really
still
the
bleeding edge for power management. The other company to keep an eye on would be ASUS, because they have zero interest in productivity. But what you can do with an ROG for gaming is very interesting from this kind of mixed model use, where you could plug a phone into some other kind of display. And for a few of the games that actually support it, it does take on a dual screen playability.
Super cool.
So again, I mean, it's not like I'm saying this idea is going to evaporate, but if we can't demonstrate some growth to this idea and bring more people to this kind of expanded usage of portable computing, it's probably going to wither faster than it grows.
Yeah.
So that's my concern, is if I sell someone on a laptop dock today, like, for me, the pitch is, this is a product that should last 3 phone generations at least, right? But do I really think DeX is going to be around in 9 years? And now I'm anxious.
It'll also, though, work nice with something like, I use mine half the time with my phone. I use it the other half the time with my Surface Pro.
Yeah.
Same thing. Single cable connection. Boom. Now I have a portable dual screen solution. Awesome.
So I mean, it's funny that you say that. My 60-year-old school teacher aunt is now all about dual screen laptop use. Like, get away from me with those peasant single screens.
Yeah.
You know, like she went hard on that idea, and it's awesome because she's not mega techie. You know what I mean? Like, again, we want to talk about these average consumers. She has like a little HP laptop. It has this port on it. That's kind of weird. And I showed her a portable monitor, and now she's looking at a laptop dock because of the battery. So instead of going with just like a battery powered monitor, she wants something that can kind of like flip and fold and angle and do different things. And so she's thinking about one that might be her next solution. And so she has zero interest in using that with her phone. She has an iPhone. She can't do anything like that with an iPhone, but she's considering this expanded, and it's going to be a little bit more expensive than a portable monitor. But just because she's now all about the dual screen lifestyle.
Yeah, the one of the features that Samsung, most of the people, if wish list, almost the number one is if you connect the Samsung DeX to Ultra monitor, or two monitors, you have a dual setup. But then, yes, you're right. The Samsung, it's hard to say that the Samsung DeX will progress or go up. It feels more like it's on a horizontal line and slowly going down. And sometimes with the content that we put in, or the content that comes up to our Samsung DeX Reddit, it feels like the users that we use Samsung DeX, we're shouting into the sky, and doesn't feel that we're not getting the call back.
I mean, the videos that I produce, I am extremely passionate about this idea. I've been passionate about mobile computing back in like the Pocket Organizer and PDA days. Like, I still have an overclocking record on the 660 hertz X scale that was in the iPac HX 2750. I mean,
it sounds like an iPac.
I'm old and I'm tired, but the videos that I put out on these kinds of things typically don't score very well on YouTube, because YouTube is algorithmically based for search popularity. And the people who would be most into these kinds of videos are also the least likely to share and contribute to these conversations. They're happy to watch the video, and the view helps. But if it's not being shared across multiple subreddits, if it's not showing up on social media, if it's not being tweeted about, YouTube doesn't position that video. So even my 130,000 subscribers never get to see it. I actually just got a comment a month ago on my UPerfect Pro. Someone had just seen it today and was like, "Oh man, yeah, I have your bell icon clicked. I never saw this video." So they smashed that bell icon, but YouTube never sent that video for them to watch.
Some of the things that I managed to do on Samsung DeX in the videos, I'm all excited recording a video. I'm all chuffed. Oh my god, this is the best thing since day one I recorded. This Samsung DeX can do this, and it doesn't feel that the people who's obviously my 10K or so subscribers, but I feel that they're genuine DeX users. I don't think that somebody will subscribe to me because they like to play Fortnite.
Well, but here's what's kind of interesting about that. Like, it's tough to know. I know my channel is not the right way to run a YouTube channel, because I'm purposely trying to just F with the algorithm. I hate what YouTube has kind of locked us into this cycle where you can only really succeed if you make videos that before you make will be search popular.
Oh yeah.
So if you're not doing that, you're invisible.
Yeah, I just the way I approach my content is I try to do once a week upload, but then I thought I already have a job. I don't need a second job, and YouTube gives me peanuts for advertising. So I'm like, I'm gonna use a hobby. I'm going to spend a week trying something. I'll spend a week. I'll spend 2 weeks. I'll spend 2 weeks, and I'll do the video, upload it. It's not the TV program you expect every Wednesday.
Yeah.
If you don't want to watch, don't want to watch. But the DeX community, the things that I created, and I feel like this will get traction around DeX people. This is amazing thing you can run on DeX, and it's just it goes up and goes down in the same day, and there is no.
It's
just-
disheartening, and
yeah.
it kind of burns out the creator.
Yeah.
I mean, again, there's this huge existential crisis. I could do a whole other hour on what YouTube is doing
Yeah.
to creators right now.
I
I'm having numerous conversations with people offline that I can't out. But like this creator toxic mindset is really getting to a lot of people out there. And
Yeah.
people that have been running massive channels, people that are up and comers. I mean, it's fairly consistent. Not a lot of people are finding this kind of storytelling to be fun and enriching. Instead, it's like the momentum of like, well, I mean, these people are kind of into this conversation, and every time I log into my YouTube now, the creator page is just a bunch of down red arrows telling me I need to be better and get better watch time and get more views, and I'm slipping with all of these demographics.
Yeah.
And you're like, we're starting to forget, or we are forgetting, that like the whole point of building the community was to engage and have these interesting conversations and stuff.
Yes.
But then it also feels like a betrayal when that community isn't supporting the content. And
it does feel
it's exhausting.
It's I've been called Samsung because I've been asked so many times, do I work for Samsung support team? Everybody who's watching, I don't work for Samsung. Samsung not giving me a penny, nothing at all. I just a guy in UK who absolutely passionate about Samsung DeX.
And let me tell you, Samsung PR, I'll just say it because I'm never going to. Samsung PR has been the most punitive and the most difficult PR to work with.
Yeah.
I
tried so many channels. I tried through so many channels to get, not because I want. Give me 4 weeks to play with this new toy, and I'll carry like my baby. I'm not gonna drop it.
Here's what I discovered from going from Pocket Now back to my own channel, where Pocket Now editors were actually escorted out of a Samsung event because they republished a leak. So again, if you understand how tech reviewing works, Pocket Now was a mid-sized tech review organization.
I remember watching.
We had to put money into travel, accommodations, getting 2 editors out to Samsung Impact, and they waited until the editors were in the event to escort them back out, as opposed to revoking their credentials beforehand. So Samsung punitively waited until Pocket Now had spent money to send people to go and cover one of their events before they pulled the plug on it. Samsung directly with me, I used to do a lot of work with Fox LA here, the local Fox affiliate. The only time Samsung would even return one of my emails is if it was a conversation about getting one of their products on TV, which in Los Angeles, that's a major market. I mean, it's like larger than many countries if you can get something on TV, and that it was only to say nice things about their products. If it was any type of more legit review or hands-on or any type of nuanced conversation, I'm not big enough. Oh, you know what? We've got you on the list, buddy. We love what you do.
Yeah, I'll call you back. Don't worry.
We'll totally get back to you on that. And you know that that's all BS. Yeah. So even more so than Apple, Samsung knows that they can chill any criticism of their products because the embargo hype week is going to be, the peak of YouTube viewership is going to be done before consumers actually get their pre-orders. That's when it's hottest on YouTube. So if you can't play ball to Samsung's liking and you're not a large enough channel to really contribute to their marketing, you are not a part of that conversation. And that conversation dies on the YouTube algorithm once normies who actually spend their money, who really invest in these products, once those people get their hands on the products, it's already kind of dying as a topic on YouTube. And Samsung knows this, and they leverage this to their advantage.
It's some of the things that I done a video about it. Everyone else already spoke about this, and it feels like back to your comment about saying like burned out thing of creators. Yeah, it does feel sometimes. I had this hobby, I had this passion about this technology, and I'm really eager to show to all my followers, whatever, just I want to show you how this works. But do the review, the hand dirty, black and white, exactly what it does.
Yeah.
Not saying like, oh, benchmark is right now better and the camera is slightly better. No, just proper hands-on. I've been like driving the NextDock 360 for like since it got it, and it's like always on. If it's not on, it's charging. If it's not charging, it's on. And by the time this video will come out, it feels like I'm trying this, it doesn't work. And the Samsung community, they're all great, amazing, but they're all talking about all these new phones, how much RAM they have, how much stuff they have. But you already can use that DeX that you're passionate about already with your phone.
Well, it's one of the pet projects that Mr. P and Eric talk about a lot is like SNMP monitoring and looking at this and that, because we both come from the tech industry and looking at this and that. And so one of the things we've started futzing around with is within his Docker stuff, leaning into that, is he started monitoring all of his own hardware and this and that. And I said, like, the biggest lesson that I learned when I got into alarming and things of that nature was that once you see how much you're actually using your hardware, you're going to save yourself so much money because you realize it's slow, not because you're out of RAM or your CPU is pinned or whatever, but just the software sucks.
Yeah.
Get the software stuff fixed up and bam, your stuff feels great.
Yeah.
Everybody in the tech industry, and this is where I'm going to date myself a little bit because I came from the telco, the 56K world, where 56K was a hard limit.
So at some point we'll have a conversation about like dialing into telnets on 9600 baud modems, because those were some rock and roll days back then.
The solution back then was you had hard pipe, you had 56K, so you had to take the software to make it fit. Where once we kind of got to the internet and the Ethernet world, it was just, well, we'll just throw more pipe at it. We'll just throw more. We'll add more. We'll add more. And phones have become the same thing. Like I think it's ridiculous that I have 6 gigs of RAM in my S10.
Yeah,
that's ludicrous.
Yeah, this thing that Brad mentioned about monitoring. Yeah, I basically for about 2 days converted my Note 9 into a portable network monitoring system. Anywhere I took my phone with, it's monitor my broadband at home, free Wi-Fi's, 4G, everything. And at the end of the day, I can see a chart and everything. And these kind of things, other people will go and spend money unnecessary buying the hardware that they just going to use for this. Where if my phone going to start play up, I'm probably going to permanently dock it next to a fan, and it's going to be my home server. I can, it's just,
I'm dying for the day where we can get like some like copper pogo pins or pads on the backs of our phones so that I can like magnetically attach it to some kind of cooling solution and just extract the heat directly out of it.
We already started.
I want to crack the back of this open.
Here we go.
Do some water cooling. I love it.
And right now I'm using a water cooler to water cool my Surface Pro for the stream.
That's awesome. Oh my! So now that you've done that, my brain just started like cycling on what I need to do to do something similar. But I mean, to your point there, it's almost like person by person. We've got to have that conversation.
Yes.
You guys are doing network management and web development, and software and coding, and I mean, like for me, it's video and audio editing. And legitimately, like I'm sitting in front of a Threadripper with a 2080 Ti right now. This machine is a beast. Obviously, it's going to chew through really complex video projects better than a phone can. The thing is, it's also a tower that's larger than my torso, and I can't take that on the road with me. And when I start breaking down mobile and portable solutions, I lose so much time incorporating a laptop into my workflow.
Even you can use Samsung DeX as a thin client remotely connected to. It's still it's still cheaper than buying a laptop.
Again,
in some cases,
Well, but I mean, like, cheaper in a way that you already have the phone.
Yes,
like,
yeah,
I'm not gonna,
exactly.
I'm not gonna not have the phone. So if I can get additional use out of the phone, it's a value add on top of something that I was already going to contain. If I wasn't doing any of that kind of stuff, a Pixel 4a would do me fine, right? I'd be good. $300 phone handles everything I need a phone to do phenomenally well these days. So for me, it's also like trying to get that idea across where, you know, people look at like editing video on a phone screen and like, oh, but that's got to be so much harder than, you know, doing it on dual monitor display. And you're like, no, you're just unfamiliar with it.
Yeah.
Once you work out your
workflow on Android, KineMaster.
Or I actually prefer Power Director, but both are
good.
I
do have both. I jump between.
But I mean, like, but let's add on to that. Let's say you want to do motion graphics. Go grab a light mobile, phenomenal. And you can do After Effects style motion graphics. Let's say you want to do advanced keyframing. You could do Frame It. Frame It is free. And you can do some amazing single video clip editing with punch-ins and zooms and rotations and angle correction. And it's all like pinch gestures. It's so fast.
Which is very, very intuitive.
So fast. It's faster than trying to do that kind of corrective work in Resolve. And Resolve is amazing on the PC. And then from there, like when I wrap up, I do a podcast with my buddy TK Bay. I almost always finish it off from my phone because it's genuinely faster on an 888 to cut the final MP3 than it is from my amazing Threadripper workstation. So we're talking about software. If you drop your files into Audio Evolution on a Snapdragon 888, it is insanely fast at finishing off your final mix down. So it's not, oh no, I'm compromising and this is going to be slower. It's legitimately like there is no $1,000 laptop or $1,500 laptop that in any way can compare to the functionality and portable power that I already have in my pocket from last year's phones, from Snapdragon 865s. You know, my V60 demolishes most like $1,000 laptops.
Like I was speaking, telling in one of my previous videos when I started to work from home and using only Samsung DeX, I done a video about how I'm using Samsung DeX work from home. And one of my comments was, you want to start using DeX or mobile computing and then Samsung DeX in this matter, you need to prepare yourself to hit the wall a couple of times.
Yeah.
If you just like, oh, it doesn't look like Windows, I'm not going to use it. Or it doesn't look like Mac. No, you need to open-minded.
And it's so funny because the average consumers get that because they are actually working in mixed computing environments very frequently. Like maybe their kids got a Chrome OS device for school and they've got to support it. And then at work, they use Windows machines, but then at home, they do some casual surfing on an iPad. Have no problems. It's techies that seem to need to be spoon-fed. It needs to look and function exactly the same way with all of the legacy support that I always had on my machine, or it couldn't possibly be worth it. And everyone must be like me because I can't imagine what it must be like to have different needs and concerns in computing. Yeah. And you're like, why are you on YouTube? Go be miserable anywhere else.
If your content is all about Windows and you've done once in a while a video about Samsung tablet, I mean,
it's not worth it because like I can't run this like 10-year-old legacy application in x86. And you're like, then don't. Then go away.
I'm not gonna start posting movies reviews tomorrow. It's like, and this is obviously it's my personal opinion, but these kind of content creators that these videos does about Samsung DeX mobile computing, they're obviously doing this video, but it just bugs me so much that you just missing the point. You've done this video.
And it's like
the most stupidest video that I'm always seeing from a big YouTube creator is, I replaced my laptop with the DeX for a week. Don't use it for a week. Use it for a month or so.
Yeah.
Week.
And again, it's there's something very clear about that flavor of tech review where, well, I mean, I guess if that's the thing you're into, I mean, if you want to handle these I mean, I guess it could work. And you're like, you're obvious. What you're actually showing us here is that you aren't taking those steps to try and get more out of your products.
Yeah.
You aren't pushing the boundaries on what you're capable of doing, and that you're managing an audience of expectations where the audience is likely already in confirmation bias land. And especially if, like, a majority of the content is focused on like Apple products, then the advanced functionality and feature set of a Samsung or an LG is going to be sort of poo-pooed. Like, yeah, there's so many more things you can do, but Apple brings us all of the polish in the ecosystem. And you're like, okay, I get who you're talking to and I get why you're talking to them that way. But that flies out the window when I pick up an iPad, and it is so much more feature complete than an iPhone.
Yep.
I can split screen on an iPad. I have a USB-C port with proper USB 3 data transmission support. It is a more complete product. I want an iPhone that works like an iPad. I'm tired of this kind of overly regressive, but again, it feeds into that what we were talking before. If you're not confirming the bias of a pre-selected audience, YouTube isn't really interested in trying to find the algorithm to share a different kind of conversation.
Yeah.
So when I'm critical of Samsung and I don't enjoy their business practices and I've had miserable experiences with their PR, and I have to include that as part of my commentary because of the way that Samsung allocates access to certain reviewers over others, it's basically just going to get me labeled a hater. And you're like, no, I'm actually trying to show you, like, this is one of the critical advantages of the Samsung, and I don't like how this company does business. You've got to weigh the pros and cons of what it's like to live in a Samsung ecosystem, especially as they're trying desperately to be more like Apple. If we're going to get Samsung to push back against that idea, we need to support Samsung for all the things they do not like Apple. But right now, that's not what techies are doing. Techies are saying, hey, anything Samsung does is great. It's the right move because Samsung did it, and it's sort of a confirmation bias validation. But then we're going to continuously get products that are more like iPhones. If I want an iPhone, I'll go buy an iPhone.
I
used to like Samsung because they were really not.
iPhones. Oh, I want an Android, but works like iPhone. Like, I hope that me and the Brad, what we do with the Reddit and YouTube, etc., we're doing our best. It's not, but me personally, I'm not trying to gain anything. It's just, like I said, it's a hobby that I try.
Well, and again, I always have to kind of check myself. Like, I'm in the Samsung DeX, like a Samsung DeX conversation. So again, I apologize because that's so preaching to the choir of the people that would be in that subreddit. But again, it to me, it's like, if we're not kind of continuously vigilant about these types of conversations, then this gets away from us really quickly. Samsung faces increasingly less competition from manufacturers that will encourage Samsung to make the best products and productivity features that they can. We've lost the Note. We're not going to get a Note. If that's not a huge red flag for productivity-minded mobile consumers, I don't know what else is. You're telling me that the way to get a Note is to have an external S Pen on a plastic fragile folding screen. You've lost me. I want a Note, and I want something that actually moves the Note forward as the crown jewel, premier technological showcase that it used to be. Like, it used to be, the Note was the pinnacle of peak Samsung, and now it's gone. LG is gone. Motorola is barely hanging on, and they're backed by Lenovo. So if anyone could make baller business grade productivity hardware, it should be that
Moto. Yeah.
So again, I can't express enough. Now would be a good time to get real active in supporting the features that you like, because they will not last if people aren't continuously, if there's not growth in people adopting.
Looking off my top of my head, looking at the Reddit growth of the users subscribed to our group, everything from 0 goes up, nice, X equals Y, everything's fine. Around the wireless DeX announcement, when the people wanted to show the photos of the family and they discovered DeX, it went up like crazy. And now again, it's sort of X equals Y, and it doesn't look like it's going down, but it definitely doesn't look like it's going up.
Yeah, or I mean, for me, it's seeing like engagement. Like, you might pick up a few extra subscribers, like you see that kind of constant subscriber growth, but then like posts get the same number of upvotes. They're kind of the same, like half dozen comments, everything is sort of in the same holding pattern, and we're not sort of replenishing our ranks. So people kind of taper off, or maybe they move on to other things, and that's fine. That it's sort of the nature of technology enthusiasm, but we're not replenishing our ranks in the high technology space. And I think people are kind of burnt out on the sort of lowest common denominator tech conversation that we've been having. So it's tough out there to invest so heavily in this idea, and also kind of know like its days might be numbered here unless something really exciting happens to kind of drive.
It feels that it's stable. It's not like stable. It's like horizontal line. It's like there is still a heartbeat happening, but
for sure.
It's not
but on a heartbeat isn't going to convince Samsung to keep this project going. They need to see growth.
It needs to jump. It needs to go sky high. Because at the moment it's gathering dust basically on the shelf. It's like,
but again, it's even with a slightly larger reach than your community, I'm facing the exact same thing. I'm having to go person by person and pull out of them what they do on computers and explain to them how this is different, and then hold their hand through like, this is how you might be able to replicate that. Oh, you edit in Adobe Premiere. Okay, well, have you tried Power Director? What do you mean you won't consider ever trying anything different? I can't help you if you're not open-minded to the concept of altering your workflow slightly.
If you think that everywhere else the grass is not greener, it's just, you're not gonna go. You need to try all the things. How bad they are, how good they are, you need to try. So if you're stuck to using this Premiere, whatever,
and I see the comments, and they're not wrong. I mean, from Alex and from Melinda, Samsung isn't doing their job in advertising DeX. But here's the thing: Samsung is, I think now they're back to the world's second largest advertising conglomerate. They bounce back and forth between all of the brands of Procter and Gamble and Samsung, and so sometimes Samsung outspends them, and sometimes all of the brands of Procter and Gamble outspend Samsung. We're talking about a company that spends $10 billion a year on marketing efforts. I think the last Samsung ad buy in 2019 was larger than all of LG's entire global smartphone manufacturing. And that's just marketing the brand. So to chip into $10 billion a year with DeX and put DeX up means that Samsung has to be so confident that consumers are going to grok to DeX that they will make more money than the potential disruption of tablet and laptop sales. And right now, if those who are most passionate about DeX are not leading that conversation, Samsung is not going to take a gamble on cutting into their advertising budget to highlight a feature on their phones and tablets like DeX, and then potentially only minorly disrupt the product sales that they were already expecting. It's on us. It's on the enthusiasts. It's on the people that are the end users. Because right now,
we're basically driving.
They're not going to take the risk.
Yeah, we're driving a ship.
Yeah. Well, we need guys like Mr. P that are going to show off cool projects just for the sake of doing a cool project.
Yeah,
somebody else will get interested.
Well, but I mean, and outside of that, I mean, because I mean, from watching your videos and stuff, I mean, it's some really high concept work, and I kind of went down the rabbit hole of watching your archive of videos. But on top of that, it's also kind of the Samsung DeX community at large also needs to be critically embracing of every other desktop mode platform right now, because if Samsung doesn't have competition, then they're not going to innovate and improve. And right now it's like, hey man, if you can get your hands on a Moto Ready 4 and start making a few videos that are definitely not going to perform well on YouTube, but showing like there's some interest in that.
Well, I tried to get one, but sadly,
oh no, I'm in the same boat. I mean, like I'm still like I don't know how much money I really want to spend on this, and it's a Moto Edge.
This ends up for me to be a hobby that technically should bring money in, but actually is.
But I mean in like the Samsung DeX community, if there's like a way to highlight news on anything that's desktop mode, that needs to be shared aggressively. So I'm not saying that everyone needs to go out there and start buying motos, especially if you're familiar with DeX.
But I'm really keen to. I'm really keen to try Moto Radio. Yeah, it looks different in some way. But I'm the person that I want to try. I'm not like always going to be Samsung DeX.
Oh, but for sure.
I just want to try it out.
But I what I'm saying though is like someone who's subscribed to the Samsung DeX subreddit, someone who's in there, I'm not expecting that person to buy every phone that has a desktop mode. That's my job. I'm a reviewer. I've actually not done my job very well when it comes to Moto, just because of my own like sort of ennui about reviewing Motorola devices. But when there is news about something like a desktop, if there's not an interest to even talk about the competition in desktop modes in portable computing of extracting more power out of your smartphones, and it becomes too insular, then you're at the mercy of Samsung. And if Samsung decides to pull the plug, you're gone. Please understand the danger Will Robinson warning that I'm putting out there as a former LG fan. Not that Samsung's going to stop making phones, but they might stop making phones that have the features you want.
Yes, yeah.
They've already pulled headphone jacks and removable batteries. DeX could be cut, and it'll save them money on software development, and they'll make more money with consumers because of novelty.
Yeah, if
you don't bring in enough cash right now for them to keep supporting us.
Yeah, it's. I don't think a lot of people buying the Galaxy phones because they have the desktop environment. It's just something they discover by accident, or most of the new users discover by accident. And sharing content about any desktop environment to the Reddit. Yeah, it's not a lot out there. The most recent one I remember is.
But there are some. I mean, like the Nextwear review that I put out and got shared on the Samsung DeX subreddit, like got a little traction, and DeX was not one of the primary things that I used on that. I mean, I had my S10e with me, but I was using that mostly with an LG V60, and it was a TCL desktop mode that actually kind of surprised me how decently executed it was. And so, I mean, again, if there's not even a passive interest in something like that, then the conversation gets phenomenally more difficult if it's only Samsung on their most expensive phones. And that's what's killing me, is like there's no reason why DeX shouldn't be on a Galaxy A series. In fact, that's where it would be most useful and most valuable, is bringing in people in the mid-range. The LG Velvet, I'm telling you, LG Screen Plus on an LG Velvet is phenomenally good for it only having a Snapdragon 765. It's awesome. It is so well done. Same thing on the Wing, even though the Wing was obviously a lot more expensive when it first launched. But thinking that we can't have this on a Galaxy A52 is pants on head silly. But if we can't motivate Samsung to bring it to us and show us that we are willing to pay for it, then we're probably going to lose it.
Just notice the time, because having a chat.
Yeah, I actually do need to get going.
No.
Sort of my.
I'm probably gonna have a quick chat after you're gone with the brand for just wrapping up a live stream. So thank you very much, Juan, for joining us. I hope I'm going to see more of your posts inside the Samsung DeX Reddit. Everybody who's watching this live stream, I'll leave all the links you need to go and check him out in the description below. I really do appreciate that you joined me today.
Yeah, definitely.
All the best, and we'll speak to you next time.
Yeah, for sure. Take care, guys.
Yeah,
have a good one.
Take care, Juan.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye. So, guys, that was Some Gadget Guy, Mr. Juan. If you want to find his content, I'll leave a link in the description below for you to go and check it out. And it's hour and a half plus. We are streaming. We had a lovely chat about desktop environments, not only Samsung DeX, Lapdocks. What else we had? Mobile computing. And I'm gonna probably wrapping up this live stream as well in about 10 minutes or so. I can see Look New keeping eye on the chat, which is great because I'm always missing it. I'm always missing it for him. That's apparently. Oh, I think I can hear you.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm positive on my end.
Okay. Productivity guy
We're
who
back.
only use DeX. We need to have a more minimalistic productivity. Guys who only uses Samsung DeX. Well, I've been using only Samsung DeX last year, almost all year, using for my work. Um, so that's the thing. So we had a chat with Juan about the. I'm more than welcome to anyone regarding the desktop environments to post them onto Samsung DeX Reddit, like Yuan suggested. And obviously, we already done that before a couple of times. It just feels that there is not enough of topics to post. That's the thing. That's a problem. And yeah, as you heard here in the live chat, in the live stream a couple of minutes ago, some of the things that we're trying to create and spread the word around, the YouTube just doesn't like it at all. So even me being all happy and chuffed that I'm running Docker on the DeX got only measly 300 views or so. So it's a hard thing to fight.
So for Power Mech Guy, what are you talking about? The only thing that you haven't replaced yet is game engines. I can play everything from like NES all the way up to the PS5 via DeX. So I'm curious what it is that you feel like you can't replace.
I think right now about gaming on the DeX or my mobile devices. Pretty much any game I want, I can find a way playing it.
Yep.
Even going back to 80s Sega and what else it was, the Mega Drive and all of them. Pretty much any old school game can be one way or another emulated. And current games, you have a lot of cloud streaming services to choose from. You have Stadia, GeForce Now, and etc. etc. And for my use, they're much cheaper for me to pay for a month cloud streaming service than go buy the console. But that is what Shadow PC is good for. Well, Shadow PC, I canceled my Shadow PC account not because their service is bad, just because I'm not using that often as I was before. So I stopped account, and I think it's for now terminated for good. It's not like I can go back and redeem it. And I stopped because the games that I want to play, I couldn't justify keeping the Shadow PC running for 30 or so pounds a month when I log in for 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week. If I need a cloud PC, I have the other service, which is 3 times cheaper.
Yeah, it's just having too much choice already between having a PS5 and PS4, having just that entire catalog of the free PlayStation games on top of, any old NES or Super NES or whatever, plus having access to Game Pass and, a couple hundred games there. I think I spend more time browsing to see what I might want to play compared to actually sitting and playing something.
Yeah. Sometimes I go as well. I go to Game Pass and just scroll through. Maybe something I missed on the news, that something was announced, and I just. But I always end up, if I'm signing up for cloud gaming service, I'm playing just to get the thirst out. I really want to do some gaming, and go and play for 2-3 hours, and I'm probably never going to touch this cloud gaming service again for another 2 weeks or so. So it's a hard. Anyway, it's almost 2 hours I'm streaming. Yeah, I need to go. My family's waits for me. So guys, thank you very much for joining us today. I will keep the live stream, well, not live, but I keep all the live streams I did in the list below, or in the playlist. You will find the playlist in the description if you want to go and check out other live streams we've done. I done on my own. I done with Mr. Halo New. So I think we're done for today. Like always, I'll speak to you later tonight, if not tomorrow, on Skype. Guys, don't forget to join our Samsung DeX. Make sure the DeX is going. And I think that's what it is. Thank you very much, everyone who participated in this live stream. It was me, Hey Look New, and Juan, Somegadgetguy. All the links in the description below for previous live streams, for his channel, for our Samsung DeX group, and everything else. And I think that's it. What do you think? Wrapping up?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.